What's up, everybody? This is Keith Mitchell here from the Outerhaven Productions, and joining with me is my buddy here, Scott. Um, just a quick apology. We actually recorded this podcast a week ago, but because of my bonehead technical issues, we are re-recording a podcast yet again. And this is basically a recap of the Summer Game Fest 2024, which today is June 26th. It's still about a week ago that, not a week, sorry, 2 weeks, because that we actually were at the event. But as Scott and I were just talking about it, it feels like it was just a few days ago because it's still very fresh in our mind. I'm still excited about being able to attend the event, and I'm very appreciative, happy. Not sure how it happened, but the lovely folks that made this possible, the PR company who I won't name because they probably won't want us to do that, brought us out to Los Angeles, where we got to check out the Summer Game Fest actual show, and then we also attended the play days, which was 3 days of checking out the stuff that was on the event elsewhere. To that, I will say, man, you guys got to pick a better venue than Los Angeles. Oh my god!
Oh yeah.
Oh my god! Oh my god! Los Angeles was not what I pictured or remembered when I went to E3 back in 2017. It's been quite some time. But I won't stay on Los Angeles because we got a lot of stuff to talk about here. Obviously, we want to talk about the experience thus far, from the invite to okay, what do I do now to getting there and actually overall. Scott went last time first, so he gets to do it again because it was my fault that we're redoing this thing again. So Scott, you're up, man.
Alrighty. So I guess for the invite, I don't think mine was nearly as impactful as it was for Keith when he got his, because he got his before I did. And I will say it was kind of cool, though, to basically go in and be able to sign in an RSVP going, yep, I will be there after we got the invite. And then after a little bit of the invite, we got sent like the instructions of what to look out for. And then we had to wait like another month before they sent us like, hey, these are the hotels you need to go to because you'll get like a 10 to 15% discount. I didn't go to any of those hotels, by the way. Those are still already outside of my budget. So I went to another hotel that was cheaper. Even with the 10% discount.
I went to an Airbnb, and because my entire family went in, I regret that. But yeah.
But it was great to then be extremely worried that no one was going to invite us to any of the events as we were going to. But then it was like almost like 2 months, I think, after we got all like the details, we started getting a lot of invites, like one after the other, for different games or different companies wanting to check out. Sometimes they wouldn't even tell us what games they're bringing, to be like, hey, you want to show up to see what this company is going to bring out? Like, maybe.
Yeah, a particular company, Amazon, did that. It's like, we got a game, you should come check it out. And we're like, but what is it? You'll find out when you get there.
Yeah, you'll find out during the showcase, but it's going to be like a whole day before we're supposed to see it. Yeah, it was kind of cool. I mean, it was kind of cool to see like a lot of what, like, we got to have kind of a pre-show in our own heads of like how things are supposed to line up because of the games that are going to be brought to the Summer Game Fest for us to look at. So I think that was kind of cool just to have kind of a foreknowledge of what to look out for, but at the same time, it was kind of means that we had to make sure we got embargo information as soon as we could because neither of us were going to be able to write anything. At least for the Summer Game Fest itself. We got to write our own previews for the games, which were nice. But the whole process was kind of just almost like a foreknowledge of what was supposed to be coming to the showcase itself.
Yeah.
And we couldn't tell anybody until after the showcase.
That was the big things. Like, shut up. We can't say
What do you think's going to be the showcase? I don't know.
Yeah, so funny story. We're doing another show. We were talking about this, and somebody was like, wonder what's going to be the Summer Game Fest. And we can just watch Scott, his eyes, and like, Scott, shut up.
Terrible like controlling my facial expressions. I don't play poker well.
He's just like, man, you know what you're about to say? I mean, obviously, it was in an inner circle, so it wouldn't have caused any issues, but you don't want to spoil stuff for people.
Yeah.
You want people to be like, "Oh my god, this was announced. This is cool. You got a chance to play this game. Wow, that's cool." Yeah. So that was pretty cool. But go keep going, Scott. I don't wanna cut you off here, man.
I mean, it was nice for some of the games, like Metaphor as well as Sparking Zero, both said like a month before the showcase that they're going to be at the showcase. So that one didn't have to get as much of a surprise for some, but I'm just happy that those two were ones you could talk about in the sense of knowing they're going to be at the showcase. But actually getting to the last I don't know 2 or 3 weeks before the event happened, basically all the same emails kept coming up to us that we already got from like months prior of just like confirmations, and we finally got like this is where it's going to be located, and then we got the information of like the actual residency of the location of everything that we could actually see. So that was nice to have a little more insight for that. Granted, I don't think either of us really expected how the placement of everything was until we actually got and saw an actual map at
Yeah.
like the marketplace we were supposed to go to. So that was interesting to have like almost like a in your mind's eye of what you're expecting of what something's going to look like, and you get there and it is like the exact opposite of what you're expecting.
Yeah, I definitely had that experience when I first got there to pick up my pass, and I'm like, what the hell? This place looks run down. This cannot be the place. It was a complete different once we got inside of it. But outside, it was like,
Yeah.
I don't want to be here. I want to go home now. This was a big mistake, but it was pretty cool. Before we go talk about the games, pretty much, like Scott had mentioned, we got the invite, and I was like, "Wow, was this a mistake? Cool." I hit up Scott like, "Hey, we got invited to the Summer Game Fest," and it was like Scott previously was going to go to the
Anime Expo, which
Anime
is in like a
Expo,
week and a half from now.
and it's like, "Hey, looks like we're going to the Summer Game Fest instead." So that was really freaking cool, really freaking
Yeah.
cool. I mean, you have no idea how I felt when that happened. I was like, told my
It
wife,
was
told my kid.
definitely a high when
Yeah, it
we
was
learned that
freaking
we were
awesome.
able to go.
It would have been nice if it was paid, but it was still freaking great to be there.
Yeah.
I since I live in Delaware, so that was a much bigger hike for me. It was like 5+ hours at the airport on the plane, and of
Yeah.
course going through the airport and TSA and kids who don't listen, and oh my god, my son, I love him to death, but just like the TSA people are like, do this, do that, do this, and he's like, what, that, what, like, dude, just drop everything. Let's go. And he's he, he's not getting it. It was a shame though, but um I got Airbnb because my entire family went instead of just myself. And you think about when you go in certain places with your family, it's like a hotel, which is roughly the same as Airbnb, but then you got to go out and buy food, or every time you're out, versus Airbnb that has a stove and whatnot, so you can actually buy food from a store and cook it and save some money, because we needed to save some money. So that was a much better experience from us. I don't know if I would do it again, but at the same time, if we do get invited to go back to California again, I don't know if I'm taking my entire family next time either. That just was just a whole bunch of issues left and right that didn't need to be there, because family, and when you're actually trying to work, it's a different story. So, but yeah, it was really cool. It was really cool to be there. It was amazing to see all the people I talked to online, the peers, the people I work with, the people that I talk to all the time, the PR people that we always talk to. It's really nice to see them versus hello
The
PR person.
usual, can I request code now?
Give me code. Thank you. Where is this game? Thank you. One of the
who's
biggest things.
who's taking control of this game?
Yeah, one of the biggest things is I don't like that process. I mean, I know that is the process, but I don't like going up to a PR person and going, "I need this code," or "What's going on with this game?" So being able to actually see the person and talk to the person and actually have a meaningful conversation, and they're just talking and talking, you're just talking back and forth, and it was fun. It's something that you get at PAX, which is probably the only one we can relate to anymore, because I didn't do
Yeah.
that at E3. E3 was a much different experience for me. So But here it was super intimate because it was just creators and media and
Yeah.
press. That was it. And a lot of them weren't even there until what, Sunday,
Yeah.
late
There
Saturday,
there
because
was
Xbox
there's
and
like a few
IGN.
people, or I'd say like there's a percentage of people that basically did the IGN live event for the first 2 days and then went to the play days for Summer Game Fest the next 2 days.
Yeah, so it was pretty cool seeing some people on Friday. I'm sorry, Saturday, and then seeing other people on Sunday and Monday. So that was cool. But obviously you're probably saying, yeah, we know. But tell us about the games. What was there? What did you play? What caught your eye? Um, I think Scott actually played more games than me because I kept going back to certain games and talking to people and talking to developers a lot more. So I'm gonna let Scott go again because he had a game that he really loved, and I bet you he wish he was still playing it right now.
I mean, there's a few that
Two
I wish
games,
I still had in
two
my
games.
hands right now, but yeah, the big game that I had the most fun playing and is definitely the most hyped about that's coming out this year is Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. So this one was actually really cool. I wasn't actually expecting to be able to be one of the people. Like, we were both invited to go see the presentation. I wasn't sure if we're actually going to be invited to actually play the game. So I was really happy when we did get to play the game and actually got our hands on the game. We even got to record our own footage, which a lot of the footage is already up on our YouTube. But it was just like a return to like a period of time when I used to be like addicted to the Budokai Tenkaichi series, because Budokai Tenkaichi like 2 and 3 were like some of the biggest memories I had of playing with like my brother, as well as I'd play it with my offline friends at the time, back when the internet wasn't like the only way you could talk to some of your childhood friends.
I miss those times. I really do. The internet has ruined so many things for us.
Yeah.
This is not the old man yelling at the cloud. This is when I was younger. God, that sounds so bad. I would go over to my friend's house, and they would come over to my house, and we would play games. There
Yes.
wasn't a worry about something dropping or latency issues because they were right next to you.
Yeah. So, I mean, Budokai Tenkaichi 3 was one of the games I'd bring over to like a few of my friends' houses, or even like it's funny because the game system I'd bring with me to my friends most of the time was the Nintendo Wii, because it had the most like games you could play with people. And it also was the one where everybody wanted to do like the Wii Sports and stuff. But that was also where I got the Budokai Tenkaichi 3 game, because that was the one I'd play with friends more. And so I wanted to have that experience a lot. So having like some of this, like basically the Sparking Zero combat is almost exactly the same in the sense of like how the controls can be lined up and how it can be worked into combos. It was just kind of really cool to be able to transition from like my old days of yore when I'd play Budokai Tenkaichi and utilize some of those same combos in Sparking Zero, and being able to do some of the more advanced mechanics of like the parries, the dodges, and being able to counter, as well as like constantly do the vanish counter, which is a very fun move to do. When you're in the middle of like getting comboed and you just vanish behind your enemy and just hit them in the back and then do your own combo next to them. Or even with another thing I love that they brought back was like the vanish combo, where when you vanish behind someone, they can vanish behind you, and you can vanish behind them until one of you runs out of ki, and then the one who runs out of ki first is the one who loses. Or in case you ruin the timing with your vanish, which is possible. But there's just so much just like resonated with me of the Sparking Zero game, and it was just like the best thing ever. And I'm super excited for it to come out. Everything played super snappy. It was, in my experience, pretty polished. I really love just how combos would work and how the terrain would explode into like thousands of pieces when
That was awesome. And it was, again, it was like just watching the anime, literally watching the Dragon Ball
Absolutely.
anime. Stuff just breaking apart, the super moves, everything, literally everything. If you never played any of the games in the series, this is your first time, like myself, I know, boo. It's like, why didn't I play these games before? This stuff was in the game back then, obviously, not to this scale, but
Yeah.
yeah, this was the stuff, and it's like, wow, I'm playing actual anime.
I
Great,
mean,
great.
Budokai Tenkaichi was the series that began probably the curse of Bandai Namco putting all of the anime games on Arena Fighters, because they saw just how popular it was.
Remember that game, that terrible game, that terrible game called Jump Force, guys? Wow.
Yeah, luckily it's not a Jump Force. It
Man,
actually is smooth and snappy, and it's not clunky like Jump Force was.
nothing can be a Jump Force. Holy crap, that was terrible.
Yeah, the Jump Force was so bad, and I think it's because they tried to fit so many things into one game engine, and it never worked.
The game even looked bad. The game performed bad.
Yeah.
It was just bad.
Yeah.
And yet Bandai Namco was like, let's just release this game. Do you really want to release this game in this form? Because this is not a good game. Yeah,
No.
okay. All right, I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna stop.
No, it's just know that yes, this is the same developers who did Jump Force, but the difference is it's good.
way better than that garbage.
Way better. Okay. The next game that I was happy to try out was another one that's coming out this year. Is Metaphor Refantasio, which is kind of just like the fantasy medieval game that is done by the makers of Persona with Atlas. And honestly, they did a really good job in terms of keeping a turn-based system, but also introducing a lot of different mechanics that's not just like Persona oriented. But they also introduced a lot of like classes for characters, what they call as archetypes. So I really wish that I could just put dig my hands more into that game, because the demo itself that they let us play was let us try 15-minute increments of different sections of the game. And I feel like all those sections weren't long enough for me to grasp what it wanted to grasp out of them. But at the same time, it was really good, and it really played well enough that I want to play more of the game. I want to be able to customize the characters and the parties that I want to see fit. And I wish that I could do more of that, but at the same time, just having time to play the game was special. And I still am really hyped and really excited for when that game comes out. I think Atlas did a really good job of transferring their knowledge of like the Shin Megami Tensei and Persona game series that they're working on, and then introducing it into their own fantasy-esque series, which is really cool to have like a medieval fantasy-esque series, because we haven't really seen that with Atlas themselves. I mean, we see that all the time in fantasy RPGs, but Atlas doesn't usually do that. They're usually more of the whole school-oriented focus. They like the modern-day school systems. So if you don't want to do a modern-day school system type RPG, but also still from Atlas, then Metaphor Refantasio is going to be the one to go and to look for. Third one on my list is the Dragon Quest III HD 2D remake. That one was really cool. I mean, it's kind of something that I was already kind of considering. So when we got the invite for this from Square Enix, they didn't tell us exactly what game it was going to be.
certain HD 2D HD game, we're like, I wonder what game that was.
Yeah, and so there's just like a certain HD to 2D game that will be a remake of another game, and it's just like, so it could be anything that they're working on that's HD 2D, but most likely something more soon to be released. So Dragon Quest III HD 2D was the one that I anticipated it was going to be, even though there were some people who were wanting it to be like the first Dragon Quest, because that 1 and 2 was kind of a rumor type thing, because 3 was already confirmed as something that was going to be in the works or is being made with like Twitter, like years and years ago, actually. They even apologized, say they should have announced that they were working on it.
But, I mean, I don't know why they just didn't come out and say, oh, hey, it's this game. It's like, come on, guys. We're not dumb. We kind of put together what game it actually is going to be there. And we kind of figured it was, oh, hey, look, it's Dragon Quest.
It's Dragon Quest. Yeah. The only kind of speculation you could do is if it's going to be 1, 2, or 3. But yeah, it was 3. And it was fun. They gave a little like 10-minute presentation when I went there, where they just talked about like, why are we starting with 3? What's the music going to be like? Who's on board with it? And all that information has already been revealed, and I already wrote up a piece about it. But basically the reason they chose Dragon Quest 3 was because it's chronologically the first in the series. Erdrick was the reason Dragon Quest 1 and 2 were looking for the titles of Erdrick, because it was a title given to a previous hero that was announced to be 3. So instead of, I guess, saving the twist for the end, they just decided, hey, we're just going to do it chronologically.
Sounds like something they did with Final Fantasy. And there goes
Yeah.
my voice. It's starting to go. Lovely. Lovely, lovely, lovely.
But I loved it. I will say the music already gives you extremely big Dragon Quest vibes. I know it's going to be a reworked soundtrack and orchestra, but it still sounds exactly what you expect from a Dragon Quest game. And it sounded great. I really appreciated and loved my time playing Dragon Quest, if only just because I love the Dragon Quest series and I understand a lot of the mechanics and everything. Plus, it's a very grind heavy RPG, and they still kept that. Some people don't like that aspect of Dragon Quest, and it's understandable because they don't want to spend time grinding for levels. They just want to get to the plot, kind of a deal.
See, the point with Dragon Quest though, it's an old school RPG, and those are old RPG. I can't talk about old RPG mechanics.
Yeah.
When we played RPGs back on the NES, Super NES, and going forward, the goal was you had to grind and grind and grind and grind, and just what it is. Some people don't like it. Some people love it. Some people love grinding their characters and making them super invincible. So, it is what it is.
Some people definitely did not like the grinding where I was playing, and some of them decided not to grind and then died in the dungeon.
That's also what happens.
The demo that we had basically started off us in the first town with a preset party, and we're just like, go. We expect you to go to the tower and to go to the top of the tower and get the final item there. And that was their expectation for the demo. I grinded a bit beforehand, went to the dungeon, went to all the little crevices and extra floors and rooms I could find to get all the treasure chests, which I'm glad I did because I found a secret room that gave me the boomerang. And for those in the Dragon Quest know how, the boomerang is the best weapon for you to grind with because it hits every enemy on the screen. You don't have to choose which enemy you want to attack. You just use the boomerang, and it's just like everybody dies, and you're just like, I win.
Sounds a little bit overpowered to me. But
it's overpowered, but the thing is with the boomerang is the more enemies there are in the battle, the less damage it does. So it equalizes it that way. But if you're someone who overpowers your strength stat, even if it does only a little bit of damage, it still can be quite a bit of damage. So I did that with a boomerang. I was able to actually start the second dungeon by the time our time was up, which was nice. Some people didn't make it to the top of the first dungeon because they kept getting themselves killed because they forgot to grind. And some just didn't go looking for treasure chests, which gave you more items and gold to allow you to buy more potions and stuff. So
how much time did you have with the game?
We had about 40-ish minutes, 40 to 50 minutes, depending on the presentation was 10 minutes. It's an hour long time slot. They put a 10-minute presentation and it's like a 50-minute, but they gave another 5 minutes to explain how the demo was going to work. So it's about 45 minutes. So it was actually a good chunk because it was 45 minutes of just no stops or anything. I didn't have to worry about them actually talking more about it. They're just like, hey, you have this allotted amount of time and you can just run through wherever the save point is. Because they had saves for each of the thing. They brought the PS5 version of Dragon Quest 3 as well as the Nintendo Switch version. And they had 3 Switches that you could play.
Which one did you play again?
I got on the PS5. As soon as they said you could do the PS5 or the Switch, I just ran to the first PS5 and said, this is mine.
Oh, wait, but I thought you liked your Switch.
I do like my Switch, and I think Dragon Quest 3 will be great on the Switch, but at the same time, I wanted to hear the audio as well as it could be on a PS5.
It's a shame there was no PC versions on hand. I would have been interested to hear how it played.
Yeah. Because, I imagine, I hear that the best way to do demos nowadays is just do it via Steam Deck because
that's what a lot of
easy to find.
When we were at PAX, that's what most people were doing. Here's the Steam Deck. Here's the Steam Deck. Here's the Steam Deck. And just oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, there's even like people who just did the mounted Steam Decks. Like, yeah, we'll just have you play at a 720p on the big screen. It's just like it works fine for indies because it's not like sure 720p upscaled to 1080p. You're not losing a whole lot of resolution there.
I think just in general, it is PC gaming. So I'm not going to say anything there because people go, yeah, we know you like PC gaming. Keep shut up, whatever.
You have a good enough monitor and the game looks good enough blown up, it's fine. Steam Deck is a very helpful thing to have. Alrighty. So the fourth game on my list is Hyper Light Breaker. That was one that I went over to. That was an indie type game. Is really cool. It was a roguelite open world where they basically had a procedural generated open world, and every time when you died after 5 deaths, it would change what the open world was. They procedurally generate a new landscape, which I think is really cool because with it being procedurally generated, it still had a variety of locales and it had a variety of verticality. So every area would have like mountains or at least like some way to be able to get higher or lower where you were at. And the whole thing was you're supposed to get a certain amount of elites killed to then fight the big boss. And then once you fought the big boss, was supposed to be when the demo ended, but I kept playing it and got the second boss because there's apparently a series of bosses in each open world like element, and you get more keys for him the more elites that you fight and destroy. And the first one, I died at like before finally killing him, but when I got to the little hub for your second like try at the open world location, I then got like a super OP sword because it's randomly generated. So all like the weapons and armor and everything and like abilities are going to be randomly generated in the hub. And so I got a really OP weapon. I also got like one of their OP like equipments, which was like a golem, which was just a giant defensive golem that would walk around and do a little bit of damage, but also amassed a ton of aggro. So it'd be where everyone would focus would be on the golem. And so I went after the first boss afterwards, and I instantly just destroyed him because he kept focusing on the golem, and I was able to use my new weapon on him, which was like a giant broadsword that had a thing called rot damage on it. So when you cause enough rot to these enemies, they just instantly just like get paralyzed for a period of time. So you just keep hitting them over and over again. They may do more balance adjustments before it's released, but that was really OP.
How far along was that game? Was it a specific demo just for the event, or was it a slice of the game?
I think it was a slice of the game. They still were working on a lot of the aspects because when I did the second boss, they were still like, I'd say, being worked on cutscenes because the cutscenes were very jarring. The animation was not very like fluid. It was very stiff. And then once the cutscene was done, it was instantly like, oh, this character actually has a model. So it definitely felt like they gave me a piece of the actual game. But they weren't done programming the boss after the second boss. So they only had 2 bosses in the game, and the second one was being worked on. So they told me they didn't suggest I would go to the second boss, but they also said they wouldn't stop me. So I went to the second boss and then destroyed him with the same setup.
Scott was like, well, you told me not to do it, so obviously I'm going to go do it.
Obviously, it means he's either hard, but I got OP system right here, and it was OP enough for me. Which was very nice. I really enjoyed my time with it. I think with more time and obviously more polish, it's going to be a pretty special game, especially for those who want like open world games, but not like overly, I'd say, excessive open world, where it's just like everything has a little piece you have to find. Because it's just an open world of exploration kind of a deal. Where you get to explore, fight enemies, and then get to the next boss. And then with it being procedurally generated, that means you can have infinite open worlds. Or basically.
I don't know how that's going to fly with people because, when you say procedure generated, people go, oh, this.
Yeah.
Because I remember when Remnant from the Ashes
Yeah.
and Remnant 2, and everybody's like, it's procedure generated, but it's not completely procedure generated. It's just pulled from a pool of levels, and even then that's very small. Where actual procedure generation is like, all right, this entire level is going to be generated on the fly, which is interesting because when people make these guides, they go, "Well, it's a procedure generated game." Does it mean like placements of stuff is going to change? Enemies are going to change. Item locations are going to change. That's that's a little weird for a Dragon Quest game. Most games are usually static, so that's gonna be interesting to see when that game eventually comes out. Oh lordy!
Well,
But what else did you try? What else were you
alrighty.
checking out
The
there?
final game that I want to talk about was another indie game called Robots at Midnight. And so this one was a fun story of finding it because this game panel itself was like in a weird like section of Summer Game Fest that was kind of like almost, it wasn't inaccessible, but we didn't think it was accessible because it was like behind the tent, and then you look at a door on the right that was closed, and if you open it you can go in, and there's like three little sections of different panels there. They had like Atari and NetEase, and then this other one which is called Indie Angels, which had 4 different games, but this Robots at Midnight one was the one I want to talk about because it was really fun to play. It's basically, I guess, a more accessible way to play a more Souls-like type game, where he wanted to make it an easier difficulty, but still have the difficulty of like fighting bosses and things, where you basically fight all these different robot types, and you have like you fight with a pipe, which is kind of interesting. The way that I guess the story of the game that works is you are crash landed on this planet, and this entire planet is overrun by robots, both good and bad, kind of a deal. And at midnight, once midnight hits, all robots kind of turn into like a really red sear evil type thing that will instantly know where you're at and then try to get at you. And it's interesting because even when like you in the morning or like during the daytime when you fight these robots and you put them down, like the demo itself, I put down a giant boss after a bit, and then when the midnight hit, the giant boss came back alive, kind of a deal, and then would instantly go after you. But he was also much stronger and had more health. But it had like your basic setup of like you could do like roll dodges. You could also boost with like your little short term of boost ability that you could actually use to boost into the enemies to hop on top of them and just like smash them in their face, which is actually really cool.
So since this is a Souls like, I have to ask: does it have fat rolling? Can you put on heavier armor things and it'll reduce your movement speed, or does it have a stamina system? Like,
It does have a stamina system.
okay,
Yes.
so there's that stamina. Does it
Uh,
suck?
the armor thing, I don't think it did. I only had 2 different sets of armor, and they basically just increased or decreased your defense. And they didn't look a whole lot different.
So I mean, it's not a Souls like if you can't put on heavy armor and then it just completely just I can't move because I put too much on. Yep, that's a Souls like game for you.
Yeah, well, that may be part of the cutting of the fat to make it easier.
Oh no, we're not going to talk about Souls like and easy.
Though
No.
they did include a mode called Master Mode for those who aren't new to Souls-like and want to actually experience it in the difficulty of most other Souls-like type games, where things you have like a 2-hit until you're dead type thing. So I thought it was really cool. It was the game itself looked pretty well in development. There was a lot of aspects that is still being worked on, of course, but I really did like the boost ability, being able to boost out of attacks or boost into the enemy to stun them for a bit. Is also like one of the best ways to get out of when they started getting into like a guard stance. You just boost into their guard stance and then hit them in the head instead. But that's those are the 5 games that's like on my top experience list.
I didn't hear that Amazon game on there anywhere.
I mean, I
You
liked
that
it,
game.
but I wouldn't call it in the top 5.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So, it was actually harder for me to narrow down top 5 just because there were so many great games that were there. Like, and
Mhm.
obviously, I didn't want to overlap what Scott had because I played Dragon Ball and I really enjoyed Dragon Ball, but I think Scott enjoyed it just a tad bit more than I did.
Now I got to
Um,
get you on playing all the other Budokai Tenkaichi games.
well, obviously, one of the big games that we didn't get to play was Monster Hunter Wilds. We got to see it.
Yep.
This is the first time we saw a gameplay demonstration that was actual gameplay, which is cool, but also sucked because when we went in, the game crashed a couple of times, so we didn't get to see the entire presentation that other people got to see. But
Yep.
regardless, seeing that game in motion was just amazing.
Yes.
Everything that happened, and I did a write up over of it at the Outerhaven, so definitely check it out. But we got to see how the actual weather works when the presenter was fighting a monster, and the weather just changed to a dust storm and changed the entire environment, and how new monsters moved in, how old monsters were out, and how certain monsters were being useful as traps. I did it again to another season. I think it was called the Season of Abundance, where it's like spring and you can start to see subtle changes happening across the map and more resources and things of that nature. But people were worried the combat was going to change. The combat is amazing. It has spoiled me from playing Monster Hunter World. I have uninstalled it. I
Can't go
cannot play
back.
it. I can't go back. I cannot go back. I cannot go back. It's literally that amazing. We got to see a couple different weapons. Again, the combat was very fluid. The gameplay mechanics were fantastic. Like the mount, I forgot the actual name of the mount, but the mount's pretty cool. It's actually better than the Power Moot that you got
Yes.
in Rise, because when you call it one, it's instant. It
Yeah.
also fly or glides, which is great because you can also use that when you're fighting, because you can actually use it, jump, glide down on top of a monster, jump off of it onto the monster, and it makes mounting the monsters that much easier.
Yep.
Because if anybody's ever played Rise or World, trying to mount the monster sometimes doesn't always work the way you want it to. This makes it that much easier. Plus, one of my favorite things they said about the monster, the mount, is you can use it to swap weapons in the field, which is pretty cool because
Yes.
they were using the sword, and then they also had the heavy bow gun, and you were actually using the mount with the bow gun and actually running around the monster and taking pot shots at it. It was really cool. There's just I could be talking about this game for hours, literally just from that 20-minute presentation. So that was easily my top game, even though I didn't get a chance to play it. Top game there. Um, Phantom Blade Zero. I've been talking about this game for a while. Finally got a chance to play the game. It is not a Souls like. People kept saying what a Souls like. It's not a Souls like. Just stop it. It's a hack and slash like Ninja Gaiden or Bayonetta or Devil May Cry. It's like that. It does have some Souls mechanics into it, but it is strictly an action hack and slash game. Um, they made a demo for the event. It was cool. It was rough, obviously, but it gave a clear indication of how the game was going to play. Had a chance to fight a couple of bosses. Combat is nice. The combat is nice. I like where the team is going. They got a good head on their shoulder, and they're actually trying to be the scrappy underdog. They're trying to go up against all these big companies like Capcom and whatnot. Say, hey, we can make a game just as good. Now, I know a lot of people had what's the word I'm looking for here? A lot of people were doubting that they could do that, and a lot of people were doubting they're going to have this game ready by 2025. But from what I've seen and from what I've talked to the people from the event. I believe one of them was the CEO. I talked to him for a good 20 minutes about the game, and no, I think these guys are on track. I think these guys are going to knock it out of the park. Sadly, it's only coming to PlayStation 5 and PC. I won't talk about that. I think it should be coming to all platforms, with the exception of the Switch, for obvious reasons. But
Switch
it is,
2. No.
you know, I always feel that games like that are third-party games should be available for all platforms. And then just seeing these time exclusive deals or these exclusive deals that take place and people can't play these games, it really frustrates me. It really does, but can't do anything about it. But that game was amazing. Path of Exile 2. Now, I attended an event for this a couple months ago, and I wanted to play it at PAX East 2024, but I was busy working the floor, so I couldn't. But I finally got a chance to play it. 30 minutes of uninterrupted gameplay. Man, that game plays great. It plays amazing with the controller. People have been waiting for this, for actual controller support, and it is here. If you like Path of Exile 1, you're going to love 2. It's a lot more what made 1 good and better. Better skill trees, better design. Obviously, the people that are working on it are super passionate about what they have there. They couldn't stop talking about the game. They literally could not stop talking. Like, I was like, look, I'm trying to play. Could you please stop talking? But looking forward to playing this. The demo will be coming out later this year. As they mentioned before, it is going to be part of the game. It's going to be a very early portion of the game, not just, oh, we're going to make a demo for you guys. It's going to be actually part of the game, which is why the demo is taking a long time to come out. But I think from what I played, people who are looking forward to playing this were going to be happy with that beta demo. I'm pretty sure he said demo, not beta. Man, I'm going to these games really quick. Death Sprint 66. Death Sprint 66 was actually one of my favorite games of the event just because of the concept, and I had not heard of it. So Death Sprint 66 it's basically if you took Wipeout, not that stupid game show game, actual Wipeout, the Racer,
Yes.
F-Zero, the Running Man movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger, put them together, and that's what it is. Basically, you race around these tracks using parkour mechanics and weapons, trying to take the people out in front of you. And instead of using cars, you use what are called clones. Basically, it's a TV show for people, and instead of having actual people do it, they use clones to do the racing, and it's a lot of fun. It sounds weird, but when you play the game, it's fun. It's really fun. I think a lot of other people that I talked to on Twitter were also amazed about what they played with Death Sprint 66. So there's not a lot really to say about the game other than that it gives you a great sensation of speed. The gameplay is really cool for what I played at the event, and this is on my I didn't know this game existed list. I must play it now. Looking forward to playing that. And of course, the last one was Enotria. I've talked about this before. This is an upcoming Souls-like game. With I forget who the developer is. Looks amazing, plays great. I love the culture that's in the game. It is a little rough around the edges, but I definitely think that when the game is ready to come out, it'll be worth your while, especially if you like Souls-like games. I talked to, I forgot his name. He wasn't just a developer. He was pretty high up. And we were talking about this game for a good minute about what the reception was, what people liked, what people didn't like, what their goals was for the game, what could be improved. We literally were talking about the gameplay mechanics and how certain things should be tweaked and how certain things should be when you're playing the game versus how they are right now. Like we were literally going through how weapons react and how they're not doing certain things, or why if you use a great sword compared to ultra great sword, there should be an emphasis of, okay, this one is slower but definitely a lot stronger versus, okay, this one is strong but not as strong as the other one. There were subtle little variations of why they weren't really the best between each other. So it was a really fun conversation. It's like, hey, I'm actually in a discussion on how to design or change the game. It was really cool. Yeah, man. I mean, there were a lot of games that I played, but these 5 are easily the ones that stood out. I really enjoyed playing these 5 games. I really wish I had more time with Path of Exile 2. I mean, there were a lot more games there, but the ones that we don't. I mean, I'm pretty sure Scott and I would have said the same thing. There was Astrobot was there, and
Astrobot was there.
We couldn't get near it because PlayStation wouldn't invite us, and I was like, man, all these people had a chance to play Astrobot. They're like, man, this game's amazing. I'm like, shut up! Don't talk to me about this game. Just stop.
You're gonna cry in my corner.
Yeah, it was like, man, come on. We're here to play games. We should be able to see all the games here. But unfortunately, that wasn't the case. What was... Oh, wait, no, I got to back up. Let me back up. I gotta clown the event. I got to clown the event for one reason. For one reason alone. They gave us vouchers for food, a really nice swag bag. I still have mine. It's really nice.
Yep.
Didn't get one of the pillows there. I really wanted one of the pillows, but they didn't give them out. So I was upset about that. But they gave us food, and one of the items to eat during the event was this really nasty ass pizza. It was cheese and bread with no sauce.
Oh, it was
And I was
not
like,
good.
we're getting pizza. And we sat down and I was like, wow. I don't know. Scott was looking at me, but I took a piece and I bit it. And I was like, oh my God, what is, and I took another bite. And I was like, no, this is not good. This is terrible. What is this? And I took it apart. Like, where's the sauce? Where is my sauce on this pizza? It was terrible. It
It
was
was
terrible.
not on the pizza.
But they had a nice truck, food truck selection in the back, and I went back there afterwards. That food, that food was good. That was
Trust in
some
the
good food
food
right there.
trucks, not in the cheap pizza.
Yeah, that teriyaki salmon. I've been trying to find somebody who does teriyaki salmon out here. Nobody does. I'm like, man, I need that. I need to learn how to make that. That was some good stuff. Some good stuff. Um, what you got? What you got for me, Scott? There's got to be something that I haven't said that you want to say about the event because I just want to go back. I want to go back now. I really loved it. God, I loved it.
I would love it to go back too. I mean, I think one thing I wish the event did was give us a map before the event, though, so we could actually plan our appointments and everything.
Yeah.
Because we were almost late to, well, we were late to one of them, but we were almost late to a few of them just because of just the placement they were at based on the appointments we already had.
There also was the fact that like at the end of the event, Scott was like, I'm gonna go back here. And I was like, I didn't even know there were games back there. They were just
Yeah.
it was going down towards the Atlas Sega booth, and there was like this hallway, but because people were standing in front of that door most of the time, you didn't know there was a hallway. It
No.
was like, wow, what's back there? And the time I went back there because Scott had an interview with somebody, um, I was like, wow, look at this. And there was a game back there. Oh, look, that game, Yars, what is it? Yars,
What was it? It was from
not Yars
Atari.
Revenge.
Yars Returns or something.
Yeah, yeah. And I was like, wow, I wanted to actually play this game. And they're like, sorry, we're booked up. I'm like, but I didn't even know you were here.
Didn't know you guys existed in this event.
Like, if I had known you were going to be here, I would have been there. I played the crap out of Yars
Yeah,
Revenge when I was
Yars
a kid.
Rising.
Oh, so that sucked. So sorry, guys. I really did want to play your game if you see the show, but I didn't know you were back there. I can't play the game if I don't know you're there.
Yeah, that was
Surprise.
unfortunate. But I mean, at least we did eventually see some of the stuff back there. But yeah, we didn't know it was there until the last day.
Honestly, if there was something I would change, just being who I am, I would have liked to have seen some hardware vendors on the event as well, just to see their stuff. Yeah, Summer Game Fest is about games and whatnot, but
Yeah,
showing off your controllers or like your new
yeah,
fight sticks or things of that nature. If you are trying to be a replacement for E3, then you need to have the entire E3 experience. When I went to E3 and when various people went to E3, it was gaming and it was hardware and it was other accessories and things. So you need to do that as well. Bring controllers. Like, let us try them out. I would love to have got hands on with some upcoming stuff from like Hori or Razer or something like that. So hardware is a big part of gaming. And that's why
it
we all love
is.
our dual senses or custom Xbox controllers or things like that. You definitely need to have more of that. Um, and honestly, just being who I am again. If we're being invited out to an event, everything should be accessible to everybody at that event.
Yes.
There's no reason for that to be a thing. That should not be a thing.
I mean, it's not like it was like a public thing too, because this was only open to the media, so there really
Exactly.
isn't much of a reason to be like, "Oh, this is a hush hush secret thing." It's like, okay, but everyone here is in on the hush hush secret thing.
And you think about it, there really wasn't a lot of people. It wasn't super crowded.
No,
Even perhaps the busiest section, they had the Inotria and Phantom Blade and a bunch of other games there. It was never crowded. I mean, there
no,
were people there, but it was never to the point where it was crowded. Like
it
you have
wasn't
to
in the
fight to get
point
through.
like you were like waiting in a line of like 30 people to look at
Yeah,
one
no,
thing,
no.
like PAX or something.
Oh,
So,
you know what? Also, the Samsung people, they were really freaking cool.
yeah,
They
yes,
were
they were.
they were very nice. We went down and talked about their TVs and what was their Samsung gaming, and
Yeah,
it is very impressive tech. I think once that gets more exposure, I think it'll do well. basically connected to your TV, and you don't need a console or a PC because it accesses the cloud. And I know a lot of people are saying, I'm tired of hearing about the cloud this, the cloud that. This worked great. They had it on hand in the event, and pretty much everything everybody played worked great.
Yeah.
Scott had a chance to play it. I was just watching people, but it worked great.
Yeah, it worked
The
pretty
only,
well. I
the
did
only,
a few of the speedrun type things, so and I was able to look at some of the because there are some of the cloud, I guess, infrastructures that most of them right now only do 1080p, but there was one that did do a 4K experience that they had a 4K TV for, and even that was pretty polished.
the only issue that I had with that event, and it's not a negative, it's not knocking anything, is I wish they had more people on hand that could talk more about their stuff. They only had one person there that
Yeah,
could
they
really
usually
talk
had
about it.
one person per thing.
You know, we were talking to them, and they were great. And like, I got to get this guy. I got to get this guy. I got to get this guy.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, but just bring him over here, and we'll ask him the questions. But other than that, it was great. The people there were fantastic, super friendly. I like that tech. The only downside I remember now was obviously you got to have a Samsung TV,
Yeah.
which I think I get it. You want people to buy your TV, but the whole goal of it was this box that you connected to your TV. So that should be something that you should be able to use on various other TVs as well. So
Yeah, that'd be interesting if they just did like a Samsung gaming hub as like a Kindle stick type thing.
it's just like the Nvidia Shield, exactly like
Yeah.
that. It's exactly like that. It's a
Yep.
replacement. The Nvidia Shield was something that I don't know if it's still around and kicking, but do that,
Yeah.
and the other people use it, and it'll be great. I like it. I liked it. I'm not going to go buy a Samsung TV though.
I'm not going to spend the money on a Samsung TV. No, those things are
No.
pricey, especially
Yeah,
for the
no.
new ones they want you to get.
I'm not going to do that, but I like the tech. I like what I saw. I like what I played. I mean, yeah. I mean, that's in a nutshell, guys. There wasn't really a whole lot to do other than come in, play these games, talk to people, socialize with other people, and then leave. I wish it was more. It is not the E3 replacement that people want.
No, it's
Again,
not.
it is more of a intimate, hands-on. Check out these games, and we'll go from there. How long has the Summer Game Fest actually been going, though?
Was it 2016?
I know there was 2022, 2023, because it just kind of feels like it's still growing.
It was 2020 is when it first started, apparently.
Okay, so right after COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2021, 22, 22, and this year. Yeah, 4 years. Inaugurated 4 years. Still, I enjoyed it. We had fun. I wish there was more, but it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. And the actual I didn't talk about it, and I don't think we need to talk about it, but the actual Summer Game Fest show at the theater was great.
Yeah.
That was good. Getting into the theater if you had a laptop.
Good
That
luck.
sucked.
You
That
only had to
sucked.
go through like 3 different security guys who all had different ideas of what was allowed.
Because I went, and secondly, there was no reason to bring a laptop. After we got in there, I was like, "There's no way for me to type up. There's things
No.
are moving too fast. I can't take pictures. There's no arm space. Why did I even bring a freaking laptop?" But they're like, you can bring a laptop. You're vetted. Okay, great. I get in there. Oh, what was it? We were at the bottom where the press people were, and later guy came out. I was like, if you got a laptop, take it back to your car. And I'm like, but I was told I could bring the laptop. Go talk to this lady up there. I go talk to the lady. Go talk to that lady over there. I go talk to the lady. She checks the laptop out. Goes, okay, you're fine. Go ahead. I start walking up to meet up with Scott. Another lady stops and goes, you can't have this laptop. I'm like, look, I just went through this. They just said I can have it. Well, you stay right here. And I'm like, I must have stayed there for like 15 minutes or something, getting pissed off.
Yeah.
And then a guy comes over, was like, what are you doing? I'm like, apparently I can't go in here because I have a laptop. So like, who gave you permission to bring a laptop? See this email right here? This person did. Okay, you're good. I just told you guys this. This lady over there checked out my laptop and everything.
Yeah, must have been a mess for those who wanted to bring anything, or even those who brought like the approved, I guess, equipment they're able to have.
Oh my god! And then they were arguing. I had the DJI Pocket 3.
Yep.
And they're like, "Oh, that's professional camera equipment. What do you mean? It's not professional." I was like, "If that was the case, you can't bring your camera in." People have made entire movies on Samsung and Apple phones, guys. What are you doing?
Yeah, seriously.
So that
If you're gonna go that route, you just go. You can't have any electronics, and that's just a bust.
yeah, that was dumb. But the event was cool. Going there was cool. The sound system blew my ears away. And that was
Yeah,
like, holy crap, that's
it
super
was
loud.
loud.
Wow. Then there was the YouTube Samsung event upstairs. We had some great food.
Yeah, the after party was
Yeah,
I mean, as
it was
much
all
as a
right.
party as it could have been.
Got to play some games, check out some technology.
Yeah.
Scott got his picture taken with a certain someone, so that was cool.
Yeah, you got a picture of the Sam Lake.
He was super cool. He was a really
He
nice
was
guy.
really cool.
So
He was
yeah,
talking with some of the directors from Sega and Atlas. Then they got pictures with each other.
there was a lot of people there at that event. But yeah, all in all, guys, I mean, I'm just gonna keep going back and saying it. It was a great event. I hope we get invited back. I hope we did enough for them to go, okay, we'll give them a pass and they come back next year. We really, really try, guys. We tried as much as
We
we could,
tried to
but
do as much as we could.
there's only a few of us there, so there was that. But yeah, it was great to go. It was nice to see all the people that I talked to. It was nice to meet new friends and new potential partners or associates. So yeah, it was great. It was great. Definitely would go again. 10 out of 10 stars. I don't know why I said that, but whatever. That's it. I mean, unless you got something else, guy, I guess we'll bounce out of here. I was going to talk about Elden Ring, but we can talk about that on another day.
Do that a different.
I think I'm Elden Ring out. I'm tired of all the it's too hard and this game needs a nerf, and then if you nerf it, then why'd you nerf it? Or if you use your spirit
Yeah.
ashes, you're not a real game. I don't want to hear it. No, I'm not in the mood right now.
The only way that you're a real gamer in Elden Ring is if you have no items, no weapons, no anything. You just punch the heck out of them.
So, yeah. With that, folks, thanks for checking out this episode of the Spectator Podcast. I do apologize. It's late because it was my fault, completely my fault. But as always, you can check our podcast out on Apple. What is it? Apple Tunes? What is it called? Apple Podcast, Amazon Podcast, YouTube Podcast, because Google Podcast is no longer a thing. So if you go to Google Podcast, it's going to take you to YouTube, Spotify, Buzzsprout, and everywhere else you find gaming podcasts at. Also, check our content over at theouterhaven.net. We got some great stuff there. We got a lot of news and reviews, especially some upcoming stuff about Star Wars, Acolyte, and other stuff. So definitely check those out. There are a couple games that we are checking out right now that I can't talk about yet, but later on the website. That said, thanks for checking us out. As always, we wouldn't be here without you guys. You guys made it possible for us to go to Summer Game Fest. So thank you very much. All right. I'm going to go possibly do something other than Elden Ring. I swear. I promise it won't be Elden Ring. All right, guys. Thanks for watching, and we will see you all next time.
See ya.